All right, we're going to go ahead and do example one, which is a rotation about a point that it's not the origin. When it is the origin, you can just use those three rules on 90, 180, and 270. The harder of the two types is when it's not the origin. So we have this triangle up here, ABC. The point, this black dot, is not at the origin. We can't just use the rules for the three dots that we have, change them, and then get our new point right away. So what we have is a way to help move it to the origin, then do the rule, and then move it back the amount of distance that we changed it in the first place. So what we're going to do to start this one off is we are going to move our shape to the origin in order to use our rules. So I'm going to go ahead and transfer this center of rotation to the actual origin. And it wants us to do a 180 rotation. So when we do a 180, we are transferring all the x and y points, and we are going negative x, negative y. Let me double check that, make sure I'm telling you the right thing. Sometimes I don't even have these memorized. Yes. Okay. But before we get to do the 180, we are going to do, this is 180. We're going to move the shape into position where we can do the 180 rotation. And then we're going to move it back to where it should be originally. So let's start off with moving the shape to its new location. So I'm going to do this vector here. This is the vector. The vector is 5, right? Positive, and then 3 negative. So let's move ABC to its new spot before we do our rotation. So I'm just going to count each point, go 5 to the right, 3 down, and that way it's ready to be moved. So we'll start with A. We're going to go 3 down and then 5 across. And I'm going to list them over here. So my point now is -3, comma 2. B is going to go 3 down, 1, 2, 3, 5 across. There's B. That's A. So now we have -1, 6. And then we'll end with C. Same thing. 3 down, 5 across. I think that looks right. Okay. That is 2, 3. Okay, we have our new points, and now this should be a translation, so it should look like it just slid across, and it does. It looks okay. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and do a 180 rotation. Now, doing the 180 will not make it look like a rotation from the original shape. Remember, we moved it in order to use the rule, so we could use that origin rule. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the 180 rule, saying take my XY points and switch the signs. Looks like all I got to do is switch signs. So my new points are going to be 3, -2, 1, -6, -2, comma, -3. Okay, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and put those new points on our graph. So let's go ahead and put them on there. 3, -2, that's A. -2, -3. And 1, -6. So this was B, C, and A. So we're not done yet. I'm going to go ahead and erase a couple things on here. I'm just going to go ahead and erase this. All right. So the first thing we had to do, step number 1, was to slide it. So we went from the blue triangle to the green triangle. Then we went ahead and did the 180 flip. So when you compare the green and the red, that looks like a 180 around that middle point. If I was to hold my pencil, turn that triangle, and then map it out, the two green and then the red would be a 180 rotation from each other. But that was not the original task. We had to make a 180 from the blue. But in order to do that, we had to move our center of rotation, do the 180, and then we have to move it back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my vector and bring it back the other way. So I moved it 5 to the right, 3 down. So now I'm going to go ahead and move this red one back to where it should go, which is 5 to the left and 3 up. So I'm going to move this red triangle back to my original place. So 5 to the left. I'm going to start with C, going 2, 4, 5, 3 up. So there is hopefully my final C, and we'll go ahead and look at it when it's all said and done. I'm going to do A next. I'm going to go 5. So 1, 3, 4, 5, and up 3. Just be very careful when you draw these out. And then same thing with this one. I'm going to go backwards 5. 1, 5, and up to 3. Oops, that's B. Okay. And my final resting place for my triangle should be here. So ignoring everything else and just focusing on these two triangles, if you start off by taking your original picture and holding your pencil on the dot and turning it, it will map this triangle to this triangle perfectly. These two were just stepping stones to get there. So when it's not the origin that it originally gives you, you have to do some extra steps by moving stuff in order to use your rule. And then once you use your rule, you have to move it back. So now we have a mapped out image of a rotation of 180 degrees.